When people hear the phrase laissez-faire, many reflexively imagine a chaotic world where corporations run amok, workers are exploited, and safety nets are non-existent. But such caricatures are not based on evidence. They are the product of political rhetoric and economic illiteracy. A truly laissez-faire economy, properly understood, is not a jungle. It is a dynamic marketplace where individuals, regardless of background, are free to produce, trade, and compete under the impartial discipline of prices and profits. The essential idea of laissez-faire is that the economy should be left alone, not to serve the interests of the rich or powerful, but to allow voluntary exchange to coordinate resources more efficiently and fairly than any bureaucrat ever could. In this system, government does not manage the economy. Instead, it is confined to protecting the rule of law, enforcing contracts, and punishing fraud. Beyond that, it simply gets out of the way. For the low-skill worker, a laissez-faire economy means opportunity without artificial barriers. Today, entry-level jobs are often regulated out of existence through minimum wage laws, occupational licensing, and mandatory government-imposed conditions that make hiring more expensive than it needs to be. A laissez-faire system would allow workers to compete on their own terms. A teenager willing to sweep floors for $5 an hour, or a retiree eager to work part-time without mandatory health insurance would be allowed to do so. Critics call this exploitation. But that's only because they assume people are too helpless to make decisions in their own best interest. In reality, a low wage today can be a stepping stone to a better wage tomorrow. First jobs teach discipline, communication, and accountability, traits not conveyed in classrooms. Too often, regulations price the unskilled and inexperienced out of the workforce, in effect, mandating unemployment. For the entrepreneur, laissez-faire means the freedom to innovate without begging for permission. In our current system, new businesses must navigate a maze of zoning laws, permits, taxes, insurance mandates, labor rules, and compliance checklists just to sell a sandwich or to braid hair. This stifles the very people who have the most to gain from capitalism: immigrants, minorities, and the poor, whose only capital may be their time, energy, and ideas. In a laissez-faire market, entrepreneurs would be liberated from bureaucratic handcuffs. They could open a food stand without the health department shutting them down over the wrong type of sink. They could rent out a spare room without being hounded by housing regulators. They could design or build better products without asking permission from entrenched interests or bureaucrats. Consumers are the biggest beneficiaries of all. In a laissez-faire system, businesses survive not by pleasing politicians, but by pleasing customers. A shop that sells shoddy goods or charges high prices will quickly lose market share to someone who does better. Innovation flourishes not because it is subsidized, but because the rewards of success are earned, and failure is not cushioned by bailouts or subsidies. Licensing laws supposedly designed to protect the public more frequently serve to protect established businesses from new competition. Government restrictions and regulation do little more than raise prices for consumers and create obstacles for producers. Critics ask, what about issues of safety? And who will ensure fairness? As if only government can secure these goals. But history shows otherwise. Before the FDA, companies built reputations on trust and quality. They had to because their survival depended on it. Today, due to the widespread use of social media, reputations are more important than ever before. A bad product or service can be put out of business overnight when reviewers and influencers call them out. Before the modern welfare state, mutual aid societies, religious groups, and private philanthropic organizations provided food, shelter, and health care. Because they were charities, they could make behavioral requirements, like abstinence from alcohol, as a necessary prerequisite to obtain aid. The idea was to provide temporary help to see folks through hard times. That is very different from the modern entitlement scheme that creates generational dependency with perverse incentives. Laissez-faire is the only system that channels self-interest into mutual benefit without coercion. It allows people to rise by serving others, not by lobbying, litigating, or statist mandates. A complete laissez-faire economy does not mean chaos. It means freedom under law. It means a society where your success is not determined by your connections, credentials, or compliance, but by your ability to meet the needs of others. It means a world where consumers, not bureaucrats, decide which businesses thrive, and where every willing worker can trade his labor on terms he accepts, not those forced upon him. The alternative is the system we have now, one where regulations choke opportunity, courts rewrite contracts, and success can depend more on permits than performance. In such a world, the biggest winners are not the most productive, but the most politically favored. Laissez-faire is not about helping the rich. It is about removing the shackles from the poor, the dreamers, and the doers, letting them rise or fall on their own merit. The real path to prosperity starts with opportunity, and when the regulators are forced to step aside, that gate is opened for everyone.
Can you say why America is the greatest country in the world?
Freedom and freedom. So let's keep it that way.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
Everything in the Bill of Rights tells the government what it can't do to restrict my freedom.
Make government more the servant and not the master of us all. In this free nation, we do not choose to be ruled. We elect to be governed.
Do not support your own oppressors. Stop letting the system exploit you.
I think that the real job that we have that confronts us is to somehow be able to sell our fellow Americans on the moral superiority of personal liberty.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.